Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the AZ Sports Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Of course, I'm your host, Alden K. Today, there's a lot of Arizona sports news that we got to talk about. We're going to start it off with probably what's the most popular team in Arizona right now, because Snakes baseball is officially back. Regular season Arizona Diamondbacks baseball is back. But the first game was pretty terrible, so we'll talk about the first game. We'll talk about a little bit more about the D-backs and Cubs series as well as we get closer and closer into the series, as we are now on the second game of the series. We'll talk about the Suns a little bit too. The Suns were on a 4-game win streak, and then they ended up losing to Boston at home, and they are currently getting blown out by the Timberwolves right now, so their playoff hopes tend to fade even further. We'll talk U of A, of course, with U of A reaching the Sweet 16 but losing to the Duke Blue Devils. We'll talk about U of A baseball as well, and we'll continue with ASU baseball and GCU baseball. Do not go anywhere. Once we hear a quick word from our sponsors, we'll be right back to start off with the first segment of Arizona Diamondbacks baseball. And also, not to mention, the D-backs have extended Brandon Pfaadt 5 more years. We'll talk about that a lot more too. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back when we hear a word from our sponsors. You're listening to the AZ Sports Zone on the iSports Radio, your direct feed. That's sports. Be back in a minute.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
IE Sports Radio fans, be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to the AZ Sports Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Once again, a big shout out to our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Make sure to check that out. Of course, Vital Apparel. Make sure to use the IESR code to get 15% off of the merchandise. Seal the Deal Wax Seals. Shout out to IE Sports Radio, of course. Great to be back here on another Friday with y'all. And of course, shout out our newest sponsor, Raw Nutrition Supplements. Use IESR, use the promo code for 10% off, and make sure to check out the website, getrawnutrition.com. Take advantage of every discount that you can get your hands on. And of course, follow the accounts that I run on X, the IE Sports Radio account, AZ Sports Zone IE, where I'll retweet a bunch of Arizona sports news, give my thoughts and opinions on what's going on in Arizona Sportsville, and my personal X account, or my unfiltered X account at the AZTRL, if you want to just get a good laughing, because I do talk a lot of trash when I am active on that account, which isn't that much, but I try my best. And if you're interested, and if you do like the AZ Sports Zone, become a supporter. May even give you a shout out, have you on a show one day. So if you enjoy the AZ Sports Zone, it's $5 a month. Would really appreciate your guys' support. Before we get into our first segment, Marcus Losgreat, our host of Gloves Off Boxing. Arizona stand up. Well, I mean, hey, I know it's only been one game, but yeah. Yeah, we're not really standing up right now, are we? In fact, the Snakes were dead in that first game. But hey, Diamondback baseball is back. I can officially not give my 100% attention to the Phoenix Suns anymore, which is funny. I'm still wearing a Sun shirt. They are still my team, but I'm just so mad at them right now. It's not even funny. But yeah, the Diamondbacks opening day was last night. They are currently playing right now, too. And last time I checked, we were losing in the second inning right now. So here we go again with another terrible pitching game. But as far as last night, the game started off pretty good at first. Josh Naylor got an RBI in his first Diamondback at bat. Ketel Marte put the D-backs on the board first. And then Guess who ruined the whole fun of the game? This guy right here. Those were his stat. That was his stat line the other night. This is the guy who wants hundreds of millions of dollars. This is the guy who we call our ace pitcher, despite having Corbin Burns. This is the guy who has been our opening day pitcher for the last few years. And this is the same Zach Gallen who pitched 4 innings the other day, gave up 4 hits, 4 earned runs, and walked 4 batters. So pitching, I've said this plenty of times about the Diamondbacks. They have the offense. They have the batters. They have Marte, Carroll, Gurriel. Even though Gurriel, I'm skeptical about him right now after that last game. And then, listen, I know it's only been 1 game, but this Diamondbacks team should not be getting demolished like this. But then again, our offense, they did still score 6 runs, which brings me back to my point that I made. And people wonder, why are the Diamondbacks, how did they miss the playoffs last year scoring the most runs in baseball? Well, it doesn't matter how good your offense is when your pitching is giving up runs after runs after runs after another run. That doesn't win you baseball games. The D-backs were bottom 5 last year in team ERA. That's why they missed the playoffs last year. And if this pitching doesn't get better, we're going to be doing that shit again. That's the way it's looking. I know it's only been 1 game. So far, it's actually been 2 games after this current game I'm watching, which is pathetic. I mean, I know it's only been 2 innings so far, but Merrill Kelly, since the last time I checked the game, he walked a couple batters, I believe, and eventually it led to the Cubs getting a run. So last time I checked the game, it was 1-0, but who knows? It might be worse now, or it might still be the same. Who knows? But regarding last night's game, Gallen played pathetic, and it really sucks too because Gallen did earn my respect in 2023. I gave him props a lot in 23. I was like, hey, wow, this guy is gonna be our ace for years to come. But since 2024, matter of fact, since 2023 in the playoffs, the last time I remember Gallen showing signs that he could really be our ace for so many years to come, the last time he really gave me that thought was when they swept the Dodgers in 23. Since then, he has not been the same Zach Gallen that we saw in 2023. In the Philly series in 23, he had 2 terrible games. He definitely was not the reason we won that series. In the World Series, he did good against the Rangers, but obviously they got demolished regardless, so nobody really cares what he did in that series. In 2024, he has an ERA of 3.5, 3.50, whatever. So going into this year, it's not looking good for him, especially doing this on a contract year. And listen, I'm fully aware that the Cubs, they have an amazing batting lineup. I've said this on the bullpen bulletin on Tuesday. I had the Cubs winning their division for a reason. They have talent. The Cubs have a lot of talent. They definitely upgraded their team in the offseason. Those guys can definitely score runs. But on Zach Gallen's part, not even a couple years ago, you were a Cy Young candidate pitcher. Cy Young candidate pitchers don't get thrown around like that. Game in and game out. And it feels like it's getting worse with Zach Gallen too. Like last year, he started off the season okay, but then as we got back, I really don't want to see that same Zach Gallen this season when we're only 2 games into the season. They gave Corbin Burns $200 million. I like Corbin Burns, but we're only going to see him one time every 5 games. He's not going to solve all of the pitching problems. So there has to be someone that steps up big time. So, and listen, I know Eduardo Rodriguez, he had a great spring training. I'm sure he'll do fine. Ryan Nelson, another guy who had a rough game the other night. But then again, something tells me Ryan Nelson should have been pitching in the minors to start the season. I don't know. I just felt like even though he had a really good year last season, something really tells me he should have just started the year in AAA. But then again, Jordan Montgomery did announce he was undergoing Tommy John. So maybe that kind of played a factor into it. Jalen Beeks looked really good from the bullpen. Did not give up a hit, run, or walk, anything like that. He looked really good. And he's only been in Arizona for 92 hours. Really made a statement because our bullpen was another reason why we missed the playoffs last year, blowing the amount of games that they blew. So at the end of the day, that was a good sign from him at least. But as far as that goes, and I know Ryan Nelson also gave up 4 runs, so Gallen didn't give up all the runs. But then again, this game could have been very close. Diamondbacks could have won this game. But Gallen gave the Cubs too much momentum. Like I said, I'm fully aware of what the Cubs are capable of. I know they started 0-2 against the Dodgers, to be fair. But Cubs are going to be a very good team this year, so I get it. But then again, we're supposed to be a good team too. It wasn't that long ago we were in the World Series. So I digress. It is just one game. I won't fully hit the button on Zach Gallen just yet, but that's a terrible way to start a contract year season for Zach Gallen. That was a terrible way to start it. Very disappointing too, because Justin Steele for the Cubs didn't have that good of a game either. It just came down to whichever team had the worst pitching for that game, and that was us. So we'll see what happens in the second game. I'm going to have to double check the score here pretty soon. But before we talk more about the series, a big shout out to Mike Hazen. This is why Mike Hazen is this guy is our general manager. So the D-backs have extended Brandon Pfaadt for 5 more years. It's only $45 million with a club option for the 5th season. And the club option worth is $11 million. So another team-friendly deal that Mike Hazen has nailed in the coffin. And the Diamondbacks, for the next, I think, what was it, into 2028, I believe the D-backs have spent $100 million, which for a baseball payroll is pretty good. So keep going, Mike Hazen. Keep going. He's locking down all of the guys that we need for the future. This was another great move that he made. Brandon Pfaadt was probably our best starting pitcher last season. Unless for like the full season at least. Best of the worst, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, because all our pitchers were either hurt or not performing to the expectations. But Brandon Pfaadt, he said ever since he got drafted to Arizona, they've loved it ever since, him and his family. So he wants to be in Arizona. He wants to win in Arizona. And he clearly proved that. I mean, $45 million for 5 years. And it's a club option for the 5th year. Any deal that you can get out of that from a starting pitcher is a fantastic deal. And I'm really glad that Mike Hazen was able to get this one done. And along with the Justin Martinez extension too, that happened literally a week ago. 5 years for $18 million. So it's like Mike Hazen, I don't know what his special hidden talent is, but he has a way of just extending our young guys long term without really, overpaying any of them. So this extension, very important. Glad it got done. This extension likely means that, honestly, either Zach Gallen or Merrill Kelly's going to be gone next year, which honestly, Merrill Kelly I could see back next year depending on if he declines or not. He's going to get there in age. And then, of course, Zach Gallen. If Zach Gallen has the season he had in 2024, he's gone. Send him to the Yankees. They need pitchers right now. Garrett Cole's out for the year. Let's see what you can get out of them. So I really don't know Zach Gallen just yet. It is only the first game of the year, so like I said, I'm not going to go completely off on him or anything like that. But at the end of the day, that is just a terrible way to start the season. That's what it's been. As I check the score of the game right now, 2-1. D-backs take the lead. Let me see who drove in the runs real quick, and it was Gino Suarez. We know Gino with a 2-run shot to left field to give the D-backs the lead. I'm so glad Gino's a D-back. I'm just gonna say that. And listen, I will admit that I kind of gave up on Gino last season when he started off terrible, but he really turned things around last season, and I'm glad he's back. He already has his second home run. We're only 2 games in. Already has his second home run, so let's hope he keeps it going. So let's talk about the D-backs and the Cubs a little bit. I talked about the first game already, and I'm kind of talking about the second game a little bit. The Diamondbacks are currently up 2-1 right now. And and by the way, shout out to our Chi-Town Weekly host, Adam Kernick, who's watching the game right now. So we'll see. But yeah, this is a great test for the D-backs to start off the season. I literally, these are 2 teams that could be fighting for a playoff spot against each other at some point. So this series is definitely going to be very important as far as, the whole tiebreaker thing, this and that. But I kind of want to talk about the matchups that are coming up. So tomorrow we're going to be seeing Shota Imanaga and Brandon Pfaadt, that should be a really good game. So probable pitchers for the D-backs. So I do know tomorrow Imanaga and for the Cubs and Pfaadt for the D-backs, and then the fourth and last game is going to be Eduardo Rodriguez and Matthew Boyd. So we are seeing our 2 best pitchers, or at least our 2 best pitchers in spring training, close out this series. And then we will not see Corbin Burnes in this series, obviously, for those who don't know. He will not be making his D-backs regular season debut until the Diamondbacks travel over to Yankee Stadium. So I guess that's an iconic way to make your D-backs debut in the greatest city of all sports, or America sports, basically. So yeah, going to Yankee Stadium, that's when we'll see Corbin Burnes on the mound for the first time as a D-back in the regular season. So we will not see him in the Cubs, which, to be honest, I don't know why Torey really I feel like Torey should have at least considered playing Burnes in this series. I mean, how you would want your probably your best pitcher on your team to play in the opening series at home too, against the home fans, which is something I never understand about Torey. He makes decisions that nobody really expects, or or decisions that no one else would really make or anything like that. So it's part of me is just like, yeah, we probably should have seen Corbin in the series, especially after the game that Gallen had. We probably should have seen him on opening day. But it's Corbin Burnes as the 5th spot. I mean, for paying $200 million, depending on if he opts out of his contract or whatever, it's definitely a move that does surprise me, but at the same time doesn't. It is what it is. So, but overall, I would like to get at least 2 games in this series. We don't want to get swept by the Cubs, and we certainly don't want to lose 3 to them. Like I said, this is a series that could really determine playoff hopes, which is crazy for me to say because the season just started. But wild card spot against each other, and the Diamondbacks barely got over the hump, which led to their World Series. So it's crazy that the Cubs were very close to being in the spot that the D-backs were in when they went to the World Series. So it's kind of crazy how tiebreakers can really change your season. So, but like I said, this may determine something. Then again, the D-backs do travel to Wrigley Field at some point later in the season for, I believe, a 3-game series in the future. So, then again, that's where the tiebreaker comes in, right? 7 games. You got to win at least 4 of them against an NL team. And, like I said, I do think the Cubs will win their division. So, but this should be a very good series. Last time I checked, the D-backs were up 2-1. So we'll see what how the game ends up. By the way, I mean, when I'm done going live, I'm going to go back and watch the game anyway. So we'll see what happens. But it's very great to see D-backs baseball again. Unfortunately, we did not win the opener, but that it's only one game out of 162. So at the end of the day, we still got plenty of games left. We still got plenty of chances. We do play in a very tough division, though. So we're really going to have to at least perform to the ledger. So, but anyways, we're going to go into a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the Phoenix Suns. They broke their 4-game win streak in the hands of the Boston Celtics, and we'll talk about their playoff hopes as they continue to fade further and as they continue to fight for a play-in spot. Shikes. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back here. You're listening to the AZ Sports Zone on the iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back in a minute.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy Dentarius Lava.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph Calise, the host of the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate diehard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Injury Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports, and I will update you on all that's black and gold. Have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports. Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph Calise, the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
Welcome back to the AZ Sports Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Alden K. Just covered up the D-back segment, and last I checked, it's still currently inning right now, so we will see how that game ends. But it's great to see D-backs baseball back at it. So now that we got the snakes in the desert out of the way, let's talk about the Phoenix Suns for a little bit. Yeah, I mean, what do you expect, right? It was a nice 4-game win streak while it lasted. They did beat some good teams in that 4-game win streak as well. I'm pretty sure when they beat Toronto, even though they're a lottery team, when they beat Toronto, they were on a hot streak at that time. So I guess that was pretty cool. They did beat Milwaukee as well. Devin Booker hit a buzzer beater. That was a really good game. I saw highlights of it. I didn't watch the game in person, which is a game that I definitely missed out on because it was a back and forth game, and the Suns ended up winning. So that was a really good game. They also blew out Cleveland too, which was crazy. While Cleveland was going through a little rubble of their own. So while we were on a win streak, Cleveland was on a losing streak, and Cleveland just caught Phoenix at the wrong time. That's obviously being first in the West, you still have your parts of the season where you'll struggle a little bit, or first in the East, excuse me. But yeah, they beat Cleveland, which definitely surprised me. And then they ended up losing their 4-game win streak in the hands of the defending champion, Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum did not play in that game. Clearly, it didn't matter. They didn't even need him. The Celtics were just lights out from the 3-point line. And apparently, I actually didn't know this until the game happened because obviously I don't. When it comes to East Coast teams, it's hard for me to really get to know them a little bit and how they play the game of basketball, or for any other sport, vice versa. But apparently, the Celtics are a big 3-point shooting team this year. They live and die by the. If they shoot good at the 3-point line, it's a pretty much guaranteed win for them. If they don't, then it's either a close game or it's a loss. So they pretty much, the 3-point shot is definitely Boston's go-to this season. And they definitely showed it in that game too. I think the first 8 shots that they made was from the 3-point line. And the game started off very bad. But the Suns went on a little run of their own, and they made it a close game at first. And then, it was a very good first quarter. And then come the second quarter, that's when Boston completely obliterated them, which, at the end of the day, it's the Celtics, so it is what it is, and the Suns are fighting for a play-in spot right now, but, we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, the Suns at this point, their playoff hopes continue to fade further. Do you even call it, do y'all even consider the play-in tournament playoffs? Because I really don't. It's not a 7-game series. It's basically it's a do or die at this point. That's not really the playoffs unless it's the NFL. So it's that's not. I don't consider that playoffs. I consider that basically the NBA feeling bad for you and giving you a chance to redeem yourself, even when you had 82 games in a regular season to get your playoff spot. So it is what it is. But playoff hopes continue to fade further. I see. Yeah, of course, when the Cubs and D-backs are playing, TOP is going to come in here. It's actually going good right now, though, TOP. The D-backs are winning right now, so we'll see how. Hopefully, I didn't jinx my team just now, but there you go. So, but yeah, playoff hopes continue to go away. To be honest, I'd rather miss the play-in than be in it. It's literally just a dollar store version of the NBA playoffs. It's not even the playoffs. It's not. It's one game. If you lose, you're done. If one team happens to be cold and the other team happens to be hot, then the team that's cold is most likely, their season's most likely over. So, ever since the Suns got Kevin Durant, it's gotten worse. We were 4 seed when the year they traded for him, and then they went down to 6 seed, got swept in the first round, and now they're barely by the skin of their teeth in a play-in spot right now. They're battling with the Mavericks right now for a play-in spot, and everybody knows what kind of season the Mavs have had this season. Even though Maverick fans come at me all the time, part of me still feels bad for the season that they've had. I can't even deny that. Just for them to, for Luka to get traded like that, and then for Kyrie to tear his knee like that, and then for Anthony Davis to get injured the second he got traded there, it's how are the Suns really competing with that team for a play-in spot right now when they have Booker and KD? I'm not counting Bradley Beal anymore. We're not calling that a big 3 anymore. We're not calling that a big 3 anymore. It never was a big 3. Worst trade in NBA history, worst contract in NBA history. Then again, that's Washington's fault for giving him that contract, but it's our fault for taking it over. So, I mean, I guess, it cancels out to a certain degree. But literally the worst season in Phoenix Suns history. Like, at least when the Suns were winning 20 games a year, when they were actually really trash, at least we expected that. This team, however, the majority of Suns fans, I'm not going to include myself in that because I didn't really expect much, but the majority of Suns fans who look at this team on paper, they were like, oh, yeah, this team's going to get to the playoffs, no problem. This is going to, but no. It's looking like they're going to have to really fight their way to get into the playoffs if they're lucky. I say this, even if they get out of the play-in tournament, they'd have to play OKC in the first round. Because I'm pretty sure the highest seed that they can get at this point is the 9th. I think the Timberwolves are currently 8th right now. And by the way, the Suns just got blown out by the Timberwolves tonight. So that, I believe it was like 124 to 109 or something like that. So you haven't beaten Anthony Edwards since last season in the regular season, not the playoffs, regular season. That's the last time they beat Minnesota. So yeah, the highest seed that they can get in the West is, I think, the 9th at this point, and I think Sacramento is currently the 9th seed right now. So the fact that we have to compete with Sacramento is literally coming off a year where they fired their head coach mid-season. They did get Zach LaVine, but then again, they're still a play-in team. So it's like, look at these teams that you're competing with, teams that the Suns should be drastically better than. But the coach is a moron. And yeah, we're actually out of the play-in tournament now. The Mavericks won yesterday. And we lost today. So now we're out of the play-in tournament. So we might not even make it. It is what it is. Okay, so he says, please make the playoffs and embarrass the Lakers. It would be funny. I think the Lakers are currently 4th right now. So I don't think we would even play them if they were to make the playoffs. I think the only way we would play them is if the Lakers stay in 4th or 5th, whatever. If the Lakers get out of the first round and the Suns somehow seeded in the first round, which sure as hell is not going to happen, then I think that's the only scenario we would play the Lakers. Honestly, I don't even want to make the playoffs. Like, honestly, if they make the play-in, I'll be like, oh, okay, I mean, at least it didn't, it's better than missing it. But making the playoffs and watching this team in another 7-game series, they would not last 5 games. They'd be lucky to win 1 game against OKC if they were to get the 8th seed. They'd be lucky. So, that's it. If I'm the Suns fans, I would just prep up for the offseason. Hope to God that Kevin Durant gets traded. That's probably the Suns' best bet at this point, is trading away KD and getting as many young players and picks in return as they can get their hands on. That's probably the best outcome for the Suns this offseason. Because their ceiling is literally 8 for the rest of the season. That's as high as they can get. So if you're going to spend millions of dollars on this team and the 8th seed is what you can get out of it, then something needs to change. Whether it's KD getting traded, I don't want to say Booker get traded yet. I don't want to say that yet. It's looking that way, but I don't want to say it just yet. I know Bradley Beal is stuck here in Phoenix, so it is what it is. It's whatever at this point. But yeah, just an overall disappointment out of the Suns this season. This is just a season that I really do want to forget. It's been just a terrible year. Terrible year that I did not see coming. So it is what it is. We'll go into our second and final break, and when we come back, we'll talk about March Madness. The University of Arizona lost to Duke in the Sweet 16. We'll talk about that game a little bit. We'll talk about U of A baseball as well. and then we'll catch up with ASU baseball and GCU baseball. So as the college season is halfway done, we'll talk about that a little bit. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the AZ Sports Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be back in a minute.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, guys? If you're looking for the best coverage of all Northern California sports, including 49ers, Giants, Warriors, then check out the NorCal Sports Report with yours truly, Andre Fernandez, every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We have guests every single week talking 49ers, Giants, Warriors, Sharks, San Jose Earthquakes, and a whole lot more, plus 3C2A. You do not want to miss this show. So tune in Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific Time to the NorCal Sports Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back to the AZ Sports Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Make sure to check out Andre's show, the NorCal Sports Report, and of course Adam's show, Chi-Town Weekly. Make sure to check that out, which I believe both shows go live every Monday, or no, Adam's on Wednesday or Monday, and I believe Andre's is on Wednesday. So make sure to go check out their shows if you can, and make sure to check out everyone else's shows if you have the opportunity. We got a bunch of good people that will put together a very good show for you guys. But let's get into the college level now. Let's talk about U of A. All righty. So first of all, even though I am ASU first, I'll give Arizona teams their level. First off, I just want to say what a great season from U of A basketball. A really good season. They put up a really good fight against Duke, who will probably win the whole thing, to be honest. So they really showed up in that game when I thought that they were going to get blown out, to be honest. I really thought they were, but what a really good game overall by U of A. Even though they didn't win, I'll say that definitely a great season that they had. And we'll get to their baseball team here in a second as well, but overall, U of A basketball, they have a bright future too. So, and I'm going to get to that once we're done. But anyway, so let's talk about this game. So they did lose to Duke 100-93. So really good game overall. Caleb Love had 35 points and he shot 11 for 21, 5 for 11 from 3, and he had 8 free throws in 40 minutes. Other than that, there wasn't another scorer who dropped at least 20. they had three scores in double figures. Jaden Bradley had 15, and Vasar had 13. So I know KJ Lewis had a really disappointing game. He shot 3 for 9, only had 6 points, which, to be honest, I don't want to say he was the biggest reason they lost. It just came down to Duke's execution overall. I mean, you can't, when Cooper Flagg has 30 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, shot 9 for 19, 3 for 5 from 3, to the line a lot too. He was able to draw a lot of fouls. So, when you have that and Nopal scoring 20 points, shooting 5 for 7, and they had James score 16 points. So, overall, it just came down to which players stepped up a lot more in this game behind their number one guy, and it was Duke. So this was a really good game, though. I mean, I thought this game was honestly going to be a blowout. Uh, to be honest, I really didn't think U of A would get this far. But at the end of the day, this was a really good game. Great season overall by U of A, and the future is looking bright because not only is LeBron James's son Bryce James to the University of Arizona, yeah, they also have Koa Pete, one of America's highly recruited basketball players, will also play college basketball at the University of Arizona as well. He made the announcement on the Pat McAfee show. And he's a 5-star recruit, 6'8". And this is going to hurt for me to say, but I got to say it because, that's what I do for Arizona sports. He chose the Wildcats over Arizona State, Baylor, Houston, and Texas. So he chose U of A over, well, other than Arizona State and Texas for the most part. Or I guess other than Arizona State, he picked teams that were pretty much in March Madness. So, good for U of A to get a guy like that, and along with Bryce James coming in as well, U of A could really make some noise. So, overall, great season out of U of A. They have a really good future. As a Sun Devils fan, hates for me to say that, but it is what it is. So, meanwhile, for the baseball team, Arizona baseball remains pretty good. They're 19-5 right now. They did lose Brendan Summerhill for the next month due to an injury, so we'll see how that affects them. But they did finally lose a game. Last episode, I talked about how they hadn't lost a game since March 2nd, which a week from today was the 21st. So for a good 3 weeks, U of A was on a pretty good win streak, and they lost their first game in 20 days to West Virginia. They ended up winning the series, but they lost the second game 11-3. They won the series though overall. It's in the first game, they went to 16 innings in the very first game of the series. 16 innings. What's up, Chad? How you doing? I see you in the chat. But yeah, 16 innings, and the final score was 6-4. So pretty big low. I mean, for 16 innings, that's a low scoring game. 6-4. Like, the pitching was definitely on par in that game until they just wanted to go home at that point. But overall, that, man. So, but U of A baseball, let's see what they got next. So they also beat Seattle University, and that was a 1 game. So taking on Baylor, 3-game series. The series is currently going on right now. It's the first game, so we'll see how the game ends. But they have a 3-game series against Baylor, and then next 4 games they're playing all Arizona teams. This is a pretty big moment for U of A, I guess. They're playing GCU for 1 game, and it's at GCU Ballpark. That's a 6 p.m. game, and then they have a 3-game series against ASU. So the good old U of A and ASU rivalry, and ASU baseball isn't playing that bad either. We'll get to ASU baseball here shortly, but yeah, definitely some good future scheduling here for U of A. And then after that, they take on New Mexico State for 1 game. And they have against Oklahoma State, and then they play Grand Canyon again for another one game. This time it's in Tucson. So they do play quite a few Big Ten teams to close out their schedule. So we'll see how they close out their season. We are halfway through the schedule, and U of A is currently 19-5 at this point. They are ranked. Last time I checked, they were ranked 23rd, which kind of surprises me. I thought they'd be a little bit higher. I mean, 19-5, not losing a game for 3 weeks at one point. I just figured that, hey, they'd be higher in the rankings. But then again, losing their best player for a little bit definitely kind of impacts the whole ranking system, or at least I think it had something to do with it. So, yeah, pretty bad loss for U of A, especially a guy who's projected to be picked top 10 in the MLB draft this year. We'll see if it really affects his draft stock. Probably not, but the fact that he's going to go for a majority of the rest of the season definitely hurts U of A big time. But hey, so far they continue to play very good baseball, and we will see how that transitions into the second half of NCAA college baseball. But we'll see how that turns out. But let's we deservingly so, basketball and baseball, they've done a fantastic job. But now let's take it over to Tempe to talk ASU baseball. So ASU baseball, not as good as U of A right now. They're 16-9. They've lost one game. They're on a one-game losing streak. But let's go over their schedule a little bit. They actually, since the last time I went live, which was the 21st, they started a 3-game series against the Kansas Jayhawks. Surprisingly, the series, they actually beat the Jayhawks in the 3-game series. They're ranked 22nd. They won the first game. They lost 3-7, and then the third game they won 7-6 in a very close game. So, a good Big 12 matchup there. And ASU ended up winning the series, which definitely surprises me for them to beat a ranked team like that. So, way to go, Sun Devils, for that. But they did lose their one game to the University of Las Vegas. They lost 11-6. So yeah, the pitchers were not on par in that game so much, but is what is. But their upcoming schedule, they're currently taking on Utah right now, another Big 12 matchup. So hey, they do play they play a lot of Big 12 teams to close out their season. Kind of similar to U of A, but they take on Utah for a 3-game series, and then they have one game against Cal State Fullerton. See how that goes, and then that's what taking on U of A, as I had mentioned earlier. I'm really looking forward to see how the pitching closes out this season because pitching has somewhat been a little bit of it's been inconsistent, I guess you can say. It's but at the end of the day, it's not that bad. We'll see how it continues. But yeah, the pitching for the D-backs. Holy crap, Gino Suarez just hit another home run for the Diamondbacks. Wow. It's 4-1 now. D-backs 4-1. Gino Suarez has his second home run of the day, and it's another 2-run moonshot. Wow. I'm so glad Gino Suarez is a D-back. I'm supposed to be talking college right now. He has 3 home runs in 2 games now. We're only 2 games into the season. He's got 3 home runs and I think 5 RBIs already. Shoot, is he going to be the MVP? He's got more home runs than the gambler in LA. I mean, come on now. You got to give him some props for that now. All right, anyway, but we'll talk about LA another time. But anyway, like I said, looking forward to that ASU and U of A 3-game series, and then they play Cincinnati for another Big 12 matchup, 3-game series, and then they got Purdue for 1 game. They take on Texas Tech for a 3-game series, another Big 12 game, and then they don't play GCU again until April 22nd. So a little while until they play GCU again. The last time they played, or no, they didn't play GCU this year. So they're only taking on GCU twice, like always. And kind of surprised we waited until late April to play GCU, which is definitely a long time for, two Arizona teams that see each other twice a year. And this game is at GCU Ballpark, so good for a good one there over in Phoenix. And then they take on another Big 12 3-game series in BYU. Then they play Long Beach State for a 2-game series. And then they close out their season with nothing but Big 12 teams. They have a 3-game series against Baylor, a 3-game series against Houston. In between that, they do play GCU again for the final game, which will be in Tempe. And then they take on Oklahoma State for a Big 12 finale to close out their regular season. So hopefully ASU really gets it going to close out the season. They're 16-9 at this point, which, hey, that's not bad. But then again, to get into the tournament, this and that, that's probably not the record that they would want to have at this point. So, but overall, ASU baseball and U of A baseball continue to look pretty good for the most part this season. So we'll see. I definitely can't wait for the 3-game series against U of A, especially considering U of A beat ASU in basketball. I kind of need the tiebreaker. We beat them in football. In basketball, we need to get them in baseball. So that's in a 3-game series that matters more than the 1 game they had on us earlier this season. But we need to get U of A. We need to get our get back on U of A. U of A, I've shown you guys nothing but respect this episode, but I'm still a Sun Devil at heart. That's how it is. I still give y'all credit when y'all deserve it, though. So, like I said, March Madness, U of A did their thing. I did not think they would get to the Sweet 16. They almost got to the Elite 8, which way past expectations. But before we wrap up this episode, let's talk about some GCU Lopes baseball. So GCU, excuse me, they're currently 14-10 right now. They've kind of hit a rough patch lately. So last time I went live, I talked about them. They were currently on a 3-game losing streak. They lost 2 games to Oregon State, who's ranked 8th still. And then they also lost to Santa Clara 8-3 in that game. And since then, they've been 2-2, so 500, but they're only 4 games above 500 right now. So they beat Abilene Christian series. They took 2 out of 3. They won the first game in a close one, 3-2. They lost the second game 3-1, and then they won the last game 7-4. And then on Tuesday, they took on New Mexico. They lost 12-10. So pitching was not there for anybody, pretty much. But to close out their season, they play quite a few WAC teams. They have another 3-game series. They have a 3-game series against Seattle U, and then they take on U of A, as I mentioned earlier. Then they have 1 game against Cal State Fullerton. And then they play our boy Larry B's alma mater, Cal Baptist, for a 3-game series. Then Utah Valley for a 3-game series. They play U of A again. So they literally play U of A 3 times, and then they play ASU 2 times to close out their season. So they're playing the other 2 Arizona college teams quite a bit before the season's over. And then they got Utah Valley, Utah Tech, UT Arlington for a 3-game series, and then BYU, and then Sacramento State, and then Stanford, and then ASU again on May 13th. And then they close out their season for a 3-game series against Tarleton State. So, yeah, a lot of Arizona baseball clashing against each other as we get closer to the end of the NCAA regular season for baseball. Definitely something to be happy about. Let's see how all 3 of the baseball college teams here in Arizona close out their season. But that is going to be it for episode 37 here on the AZ Sports Zone. Before we end it, let me give you a final update on the D-backs game. The D-backs are currently up 5-1 in the bottom of the 4th. So a good response after yesterday's disappointment. Let's just hope our bullpen does not close or does not blow the game. But it's 5-1 right now. It's only the 4th inning, so still plenty of opportunities left for the Cubs. But anyways, guys, want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to episode 37 of the AZ Sports Zone. Big shout out to Chad, TOP, and Marcus Losgray who tuned in the comments. And of course, make sure to leave a like on the stream if you are tuning out. But next Friday, we'll definitely talk about the D-backs a lot more as we get closer to opening week of the MLB regular season. Baseball is back. If you guys want to catch the other show that I am on, make sure to check out the Bullpen Bulletin every Tuesday at 6 o'clock p.m. Arizona time. Make sure to check out the Bullpen Bulletin with myself, Ricky K, and Mike Pat, where we will talk about all baseball, not just Arizona, all baseball, from the pros to college. Make sure to check out that show every Tuesday. And, of course, we'll continue to talk about the Suns as we get closer to the end of their season, which it's finally almost over, thank God. And if the Cardinals have anything going, a lot has not been going on with the Cardinals. It's pretty much the dead period right now regarding NFL as we get closer to the draft. We're 1 month away, less than a month away, actually. So can't wait to start doing my mock drafts. I will be showing them quite a bit here on a future episode as we get closer to draft day. So that's the closest thing we got to NFL coming up. Make sure to follow both of the X accounts I run, AZ Sports Zone IE and the AZ TRL. Make sure to follow that. And if you like the show, become a supporter. $5 a month definitely would mean a lot. With that being said, guys, that is all for episode 37. See you guys next Friday. Have a great week. Stay safe. Go D-backs. Baseball is finally back. So excited. See you guys next Friday. Have a good one.